introductions here and just get this recording started. So, okay, official intro. Good afternoon, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time today to learn a little bit about the BigTeams Pro package. So today's virtual conference session, as you can see here, it is titled Go Pro, the BigTeams MVP. And we are going to gear specifically towards that highest tier package of ours called the Pro subscription. So before we jump into the heart of it, just a couple of housekeeping things to get started. So first and foremost, my name is Bradley Bestick. I'm a customer development manager here with BigTeams and have been for close to 10 years. Really excited to be joining you today. And on top of working for BigTeams, I'm an athletic director and a baseball coach at a small private school in Pittsburgh. And the only reason I mention that is a lot of the solutions you're going to see today, and really anytime I do a demo or a one-on-one, whatever it might be, I just like to add how our solutions are applicable to you as ultimately the customers, because I'm in your shoes as well. So joining me today, the goose to my maverick, as you will, we have Jason Coggins. He is, we refer to him as Mr. 24/7. He is one of the great team members in our customer support team, lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you have ever had to reach out to our support department, probably you reached out to Jason or you have interacted with him at some point. So really excited to have him on board in the meeting today. He's going to kind of be behind the scenes monitoring the chat box. He'll announce a couple prize winners, so we'll get those rolling throughout the meeting. And additionally, as needed, he'll probably jump in, offer some insight as well. So Jason, we're appreciative of having him on here along with some other team members here from BigTeams. So in terms of today's agenda, as I'd mentioned, our goal is to educate you on the highest tiered subscription level, which we refer to as Pro. So we want to cover what is Pro, why should I consider making that upgrade if I'm not currently using that package? Is there a specific time frame I should think about in terms of planning the upgrade to Pro? Obviously, the big and most asked question is, well, Brad, I'm sure there's a price associated with making an upgrade. Absolutely there is, and we'll talk about how that works and even roll out some of our 2022 conference pricing regarding that package. So really excited to dive into this with all of you. So a couple other things before we get rolling and ultimately do our first drawing. As you might notice, everyone is placed on mute. That is just to avoid me getting distracted because that can easily happen. So how this will work, we do have this chat box in the meeting. So if you have questions along the way, Jason's going to be monitoring. So feel free to throw them in there. I am going to make sure there is more than enough time at the end for you to ask questions. You'll notice at the bottom of Ring Central in the meetings app here, there is the option to raise hand. So what I'd like is when we get to the Q&A session, we'll go ahead if you have a question. That way, no one's talking over each other. It'll just be a clean transition question to question. So we'll utilize that functionality throughout the meeting. Additionally, I did throw an intro little message in the chat. I'm going to ask anyone that's joining, please go ahead, enter in your full name and your school. The reason for that, number one, we want to make sure you have a chance to possibly win a raffle prize. Number two, we want to make sure that you get all of the applicable information from today's webinar. So before we go ahead and get to our first drawing, anything like that, let's see, do we have any questions? Jason, how's the chat looking?
It's okay. Nothing yet.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and do we have our first raffle winner, Jason?
Michelle E.
All right, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and spin the wheel of destiny here and see what Michelle wins. Monica. Okay, $15 Target gift card. Congratulations. So just for anyone that ultimately wins one of these, throughout the sessions here. We will send these as e-gift cards at the conclusion of the webinar. So just keep an eye out for those in the near future. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get rolling into it. So what I like to do anytime we approach the pro level subscription, I always like to compare it to the other two main packages we offer here at BigTeams. So as I'm sure a majority of you are aware, there's three packages we offer. We have the baseline level subscription basic, we have the varsity middle of the road, and then we have our pro level subscription, as you can see, justified and highlighted as our best value package we offer. Now, the biggest difference between pro from the other two subscriptions is our online registration platform. So with our pro level subscription, that is going to open the door for you to utilize the tool that we refer to as Student Central. So what we're going to talk about today, if you're not familiar with Student Central, I want to make sure high level I give you the ins and outs, because we're finding, especially nowadays, there's a lot of value to being able to maintain that pre-participation paperwork electronically rather than hard copies of the data. So let's go ahead and just give you a sneak peek of Student Central and a quick run through of this system and how it could potentially benefit your athletic department. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up one of our Pennsylvania test accounts here. All right, so whenever we sign into Student Central, as a full admin, you're going to be taken to this landing page, and you're going to see that with this platform, it is not just online registration. You'll see in the upper left, yes, the first item in really section of the platform is athletic forms, but there's other functionality built in here as well. So I want to make sure I give you an idea, a little bit of everything that's built into the Student Central platform. Now, obviously, athletic forms is the primary focus. So with our system, what we do is we take the state mandated paperwork and we just embed it into the system. So instead of you receiving those paper copies of the pre-participation, with a state like Pennsylvania, we have the SIPI form built into the system. So what's going to happen is when you open up the registration process and your students and parents start to complete the paperwork, they're going to feed into this filter view here, okay? So in our test account here, you see we have some mock student information. Now, I always like to mention this is a test account, because one thing we take very seriously with Student Central is that we are HIPAA, FERPA, and COPA compliant. So we take the security of the student information very seriously with this platform. So all of the information and stuff you're going to see in here today is all mock data. So we are not breaking or violating any regulations in terms of student info. Always like to mention that because that's typically a big ask whenever we do a demo of the system. So moving on here, we see here in our filtered view the breakdown of all the student athletes, okay? So what we can do as an admin is we can see at a glance all of the forms that are required by the athletic department. Now, it's just going to break it down into just a quick abbreviation, maybe 1 or 2 words, or you can see the comprehensive name of each form by toggling that plus to the left of a student. So in here, you'll see in our mock PIAA account, we do have all of the forms included within that SIPI built into the platform, okay? So here I can tell with Andrew Fletch here that he is missing at least one of the forms that is required in order to make him an approved student to participate. Now, I can notice that a couple of different ways. Number one, I can look at the grid and see that we don't have green checks across the bat here. Now, the easier way is we take a look at the indicator icon on the far left. So at a glance, if I see someone has that red dot, it means they're missing at least one form. If you see someone is in green, it means they are fully compliant for that upcoming season. So they have everything that's required complete. I think that's a nice tool, especially since those indicator lights do carry over to the rosters. So what's nice about Student Central is your coaches will also have the ability to see the specific athletes under their sport. And then even that glance of, all right, Andrew, you're missing at least one form. You're not going to be able to participate, especially with the PIAA's spring season just starting a couple of days ago. So that's a nice tool that's just built in here, just hopefully going to streamline the information a little bit easier. Now, additionally, within Student Central, what's important to note is you can see it's very easy to filter the data to your liking. So let's say maybe you're halfway into the registration process, you're rolling with students submitting data, but maybe you know there's a team, hey, they're really lagging behind. Let's see what's going on with baseball, for example. With the filters here, you can toggle your school years, your specific athletics, so your teams, your genders, see statuses of certain forms, or even specific grad years. So we really allow you to break down this information to what's going to be most manageable for you. Within the platform, another really popular feature, and there's a couple different ways to utilize this, but it's the messaging tool. So what a lot of people like to do, especially near the end of the registration period, is they like to shoot that quick message out to anyone that is missing at least something. Or maybe send a message specifically to, we're awaiting action on a student and parent. So after you get your group filtered to your liking, you can just go over here to message, and it's going to open up this create a new message system here. Now, what's nice about this is it's going to automatically default to messaging the students. But as you can see up at the top, you also have the option to include the parents, or maybe message the parents only, or even include the applicable coaches. Now, a couple of newer features entered in terms of the messaging is you'll see the option to now add a reply to email. The way the system was originally created, it was to allow only one-way messaging. But we had some high demand in terms of, at times, allowing the public to respond to maybe one individual based on the messages sent out. What's great about this is your students and parents within their accounts, they're going to be able to determine if they want this correspondence via email and or text. Again, something they determine through the preferences in their account. Jason, before I move on, since you are very familiar with Student Central, anything on this page worth mentioning?
Well, probably you'd highlighted it, Brad, but one of the biggest pluses on that page is the ability to mass blast a message. That's something that it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot quicker, I think, than Fan Central, where you have to either choose an announcement or news for the team and compose a message. With that, you can just filter by sport, click message, and blast it out. You can include parents, you can exclude parents, you can do parents only. So that, if I was going to pick one thing, it would probably be that. Yep.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Appreciate that. So that's just high level. Again, a little bit of the forms component. I mean, obviously, we could get into the nitty gritty in terms of like what each form looks like. Now, the other thing to mention before we jump over some of the other functionality in Student Central is the unique way of managing physicals. Now, that's probably, I know personally, the biggest question I get is, okay, it's an online system. You want to eliminate paperwork, but can you really eliminate paperwork with physicals when it mandates that physician signature? Well, I like to think we don't eliminate it fully, but it's very manageable within our system. And here's what I mean. So as part of the SIPI form, we know there is the physical requirement, section 7. So with our system, it is completely mobile friendly. So what a majority of people do is they encourage their students and parents to upload the physical through the system itself. So truthfully, there are a number of students and parents that when they are at the doctor's office and are handed their valid physical, they're taking a picture of it, uploading it straight into the queue here, and then the athletic department will be notified that there's a form that needs their approval, and they're able to update that and reflect it as approved within minutes if they're on top of notifications and constantly in the system. So in here, you'll see there's the ability to upload the forms, or we also give you, with all of the different forms, the ability to accept paper copies. So maybe you're in a district where, hey, listen, we don't have 100% adoption to utilizing technology. That's perfectly fine. We have a lot of schools where maybe there's some one-off families that they need to give you paperwork. No worries at all. You can accept it so it adds the checks, and then you can ultimately go back and upload the forms into the system for them. That way it's still going to be that tool to maintain everything in one spot. What I love about the upload of information is down at the bottom here. Let's say something is uploaded and it's not valid. Maybe it's just a mistake from a student or parent. They tried to reuse a physical from the year before, it's not valid. Instead of something being auto approved, what's going to happen is you're going to go in here, you're going to notice that what's been updated is not valid. So you can just simply decline the form. What's great about declining a form is it'll send a message back to the student and parent in real time telling them the form's been declined, a new one needs uploaded or submitted. The other thing that I think is absolutely invaluable about our system, it is just an incredible feature that we have, and it's really included with every single form that you would have within the system, is the ability to see an audit log. So situation comes up, maybe it's the first official day of a season, and a student comes to you, you see that they are in red, they're missing maybe a physical, got declined weeks ago. The student begs, hey, please let me participate. I know I handed it in. Has to be an issue with the system. Well, this audit log is going to give you peace of mind, because what's going to happen in here is it is going to give you a comprehensive breakdown of every single action ever taken on a form. So you're going to see who was signed in, the date and time stamp, and then the specific action itself. Now, in the event there was a decline action taken on a form, it'll actually show you the exact message that was sent to the student parent. So this is, again, a great tool and a safeguard for all of our users to ensure that everything is being recorded accurately and give you that peace of mind regarding the system.
Brad, there's a couple things. First of all, I just wanted to add something. Then we also have a hand up. For Brad, if you could just go back one to that screen that you were just on.
The audit log screen?
Yeah. This is just something I wanted to touch on. So we have this happen as well. Kid has a physical on file, and then whatever, they upload something just completely wrong, like a Section 9 form that they didn't even need, and the physical needs to be recovered. With that audit log, another bonus of that audit log is you could go back like to that bottom form where it begins with Andrew's name, copy that, and we can recover the document that way. We have a way to do that. So it's another sort of firewall, I guess you could say would be the word, retaining wall as far as information. And also Monica has her hand up.
Perfect. Monica, feel free to unmute.
Hey, folks. Thank you. Just to clarify, how my secretary does a lot of this stuff. How are we notified when there's something to check in a student's account?
You get Brad, if you want to go to Message Center, but you get an email, or if you have text notifications on, you'll get a text as well. It's between those two. It's up to you if you want to keep one or both of them turned on, but you get an email. And yeah, Brad's showing the notification screen, but also Brad, if you go back to the Message Center in, the 3-dot menu over next to create new message. You got your different message centers there. And account message center would be the ones that only you get. And then school message center would be, this kid has finished his form. They get a message for each form that they need to sign. And then they also get a message when their forms are done as well. So.
Got it. So I can set it up so that I get an email or a text. You said correct?
Yeah. Now you're yes. In a word, yes. You're going to be getting torched with messages, as you can probably imagine.
I just wanted to know how deep I should go on that. That's all.
Yeah. So I was just going to say you're going to want to do your school email. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you might not want to leave that on all the time, depending on the time of year. Got it. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Excellent. While we are still talking about like the forms component, any other specific questions before we jump to other functionality within Student Central? Cool. Very good. All right. I want to touch on quickly another benefit of Student Central is coach management. And what this allows you to do is get your coach's input into the system. So as an administrator, there's going to be 2 benefits here for you. Number 1, you can have your coaches in here and you can actually make them do their certifications within the platform. So you could build out what's required by your school. And instead of them maybe emailing you or giving you hard copies of them, you can just make them upload them into the system. And it would be a similar workflow to those students that would have to upload a document for your approval. So you would get a notification for forms or certifications that are going to be uploaded where you're able to quickly take a look and approve or decline. So that should just make that process a little bit easier than getting hammered with hard copies or emails. The other benefit of coach management, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, it's to grant them access to their rosters. So I'm going to jump from coach management over to team rosters because I want to explain the workflow of the system. So when your students go to register within Student Central, they are going to determine their sports of interest. So as they go through and complete their paperwork, they are going to be fed into these preliminary rosters for any sport they pick. So what's going to happen is fast forward to the first day of tryouts, first day of a season, whenever you go to make your team determinations. The admins will go into the preliminary roster. They're going to see every single student that said, I'm interested in basketball. And within the system, there will be the individual competition levels. So as you can see with this one in our test account, there's JV, men's and women's, and there's also varsity men's and women's. So the admins are just simply going to determine what rosters do these students need to be on. So once you check the appropriate boxes, it's then going to create the individual specific team rosters. So again, jumping back now to men's varsity baseball, this will be the view that your coaches would be able to access. Now, where this can be beneficial for you is I know a lot of schools, I know I had this in my coaching experience where I would be handed a binder of student emergency information at the beginning of the season. For everyone, JV, varsity baseball, it didn't matter. But the benefit of Student Central here with getting your coaches involved is they can have this on their fingertips. They're going to be able to save this on their mobile device. And in the event something bad happens at a game or a practice, they can just quickly pull up, look at their roster. There's a couple different roster types that they can toggle. The emergency contact report is probably the most popular one because it's going to give you a lot of that pertinent information they need quickly. So if it's going to include phone numbers, doctor information, preferred hospitals, all that good stuff is going to be just within a click away. The other benefit in here, we talked about a little bit earlier, Jason touched on a little bit too, more messaging capabilities. So as you can see here within the roster, so your coaches can actually go through and send a message out to their rosters. So instead of maybe going through you at the front office of sending out a, hey, as I mentioned earlier, it's snowing in Pittsburgh, like I want to cancel baseball today, I can just shoot a message over, hey guys, practice is canceled, we'll resume tomorrow. So it gives that flexibility for your coaches. The other thing,
can I make some crack about it's always snowing in Pittsburgh now?
What's that?
Can I make some joke about it's always snowing in Pittsburgh?
It's always. The other thing I want to mention here in the far right, you might see a button that says roster sync. So this is newer functionality that's been introduced in the Student Central that is going to connect the roster information with your schedule star. So it's going to eliminate you having to maintain rosters in both places. So once a roster is built in Student Central, that information will feed over into the Teams tab within your Schedule Star platform. Now, if you're wondering, well, what's the benefit of that? Like if I can see the info in here, well, as I'm sure you might be familiar with, in Schedule Star, there's a number of different student reports you can generate. Even specific eligibility reports, roster types, tournament reports, participation history, the list goes on. You can even generate awards, certificates, all that good stuff. So a lot of people are starting to use the roster sync. That way, they don't need to double enter the data in Schedule Star to access those reports they've become accustomed to. Jason, anything to mention on rosters that I maybe didn't touch on?
No, no, good job touching on the emergency contact roster. And that can be tweaked. Like if a coach just wants something with first, last name, primary emergency contact, and emergent, or, like insurance info, something like that, that can be tweaked doing exactly what Brad's doing there. So if a roster is created in Schedule Star, will it transfer over to Student Central? So once roster, you want to do it the other way. Technically, you want to do it here, and then roster sync carries it over to Schedule Star, if that helps. But yeah, once you do roster sync, changes do travel back and forth, right?
So, Shelly, in my opinion, it's actually easier to manage the rosters in Student Central than it is in Schedule Star. Because if we think about in terms of workflow, and I have a Schedule Star program pulled up over here, so I can show you exactly what I mean. And maybe this is going to be beneficial for other people on the call too. So current functionality in Schedule Star dictates when we go to build a roster, we need to, number one, make sure the students are in our database. And you wouldn't believe how many people don't have maybe an updated list. They reach out to us, we help them get them in there, and that's a whole process in and of itself. So once your students are in here, next thing is we need to go to Teams. We need to then select the specific team. And if the roster isn't built, I'll pick co-ed varsity tennis, for example. I don't have a roster built. So now the workflow is I need to go over here to add all of my students. And then I need to go through. So if I just add this gentleman, for example, I have Ryan on the roster. Now, if I want to add all of his info, select Ryan, type all of this stuff, hit save. Okay. Well, whereas within Student Central, if I go back into here, all of this information is all inline editing, especially if we're looking at the roster type position. Or actually, I wanted the grade or the event roster is what I meant. Did I hide some fields? There we go. Okay. So in here, you'll see like I toggled some of these options off, but now I could go through, depending on the specific info, inline editing, type all this stuff in quickly among my different students. And then it'll just instantly sync over to Schedule Star. I think it's a cleaner workflow going from here to Schedule Star than the other way around. Any questions in terms of that functionality? Okay, a couple other items to mention in Student Central. We do have an equipment tracking tool, and there is a detailed YouTube video available on our YouTube channel. But the gist of this feature is if you are looking for a way to streamline the tracking of your equipment, this is a great tool for it. So you can really build out whatever you would like within Student Central. As you'll see, a number of different field options available, like the rosters. If there's anything you know you're not going to utilize, serial numbers, whatever, you can filter them off this view. Quickly copy events, so you're not one by one building every single helmet. And then the real main benefit is after you have your equipment built, you'll see this distribution button in the upper right. You can go ahead and tie this information to your specific students. It'll just enhance that record. I know my school has a policy, no, like seniors, you're not eligible to graduate unless all of that athletic items you've been given throughout the school year has been returned back to school. So this might be a way to make the tracking of that information a little bit easier for you. We talked about messaging. I want to jump over to wellness and safety. Now, wellness and safety is also referred to as Med Central. So if you've ever heard Med Central or seen, this is the same thing. This is our injury tracking system that's obviously built within Student Central. So there's three main features within Med Central. There's individual injury tracking for your student athletes. So yes, your student information, since it's in here, will integrate with Med Central. So if I'm the trainer at this test high school and I just learn about an injury of a student athlete, I can just go in and start to type in a student's name and it'll populate from my listing. That way I can then quickly jump straight to new injury and begin my tracking and protocols on my end. Feature one within Med Central. Number two, we have the treatment sessions. What's great about the treatment sessions is when I go to open up this functionality, it is going to make you start a treatment session and really open up what I refer to as just a secured version of the session. Because from this screen, you're not going to be able to move forward with inputting any information unless a student ID or a last name and birth date is added. So what most trainers do, or what I've heard a majority of them will do, is they might have this on an iPad in their office and make the students sign in before they go and start the treatment sessions. That way that information is just tied and more secure straight to the student record. The third main feature within Med Central is the ability to do detailed SOAP notes. So with the SOAP notes in Student Central, whenever I go to start a new one, you will see up at the top, we have the individual tabs for subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. But what I really like is actually the general tab. And the reason I like to point it out is if you scroll down, look at all of the subdirectories within here, there are edit buttons all over the screen because it's going to allow your trainer to customize this page to their liking and really make it their own and ensure that it has just the information they need. So, any specific questions with just, again, high-level overview of Student Central? Again, this is a product specific to the Pro package. So for those of you that are not Pro level subscribers, we want to make sure that you know exactly what would be included with this specific product. Okay, let's go ahead and do another raffle. Jason, do we have another winner keyed up here?
We do. I have drawn another winner. No promises on pronunciation. Taryn Backus.
All right. So let's go over here. All right. $15 Grubhub gift card for Taryn. Congratulations. Perfect. Let's jump back over and talk about the other features included at the Pro level subscription. So the next one you see listed here, enhanced integrations to reduce double data entry. What we're referring to there is we do have some partners lined up, and you can reference them if you go to bigteams.com. Under About, we do have a page dedicated to our partners. But with some of those companies, we have the ability to share schedule information with, just to, again, make sure we're really that one-stop shop that'll be able to integrate with other solutions you might have at your school. So that's what we're referring to there. And it's important to note that we are actively engaging with other companies out there, because we do want to make sure we work with as many different companies as possible. So if there is someone you're using and you think it would be beneficial for us to reach out to, we are always happy to engage in a conversation. I mean, worst comes to worst, if it doesn't work out in terms of a data transfer or something of that nature, we've at least investigated it. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If maybe you use a specific tool at your school and you think a connection with us might be beneficial for both parties. Other benefit of the pro level subscription, you'll see here, the oversimplification, ads-free website. So we have a lot of schools that reach out to us regarding Fan Central and wanting the ability to either turn off all of the advertisements or monetize every ad spot on the website with their own ad sales. So with the pro level subscription, that is an option. So you would be able to have us turn everything off, or you would be able to price out those 3 different ad spots and sell them yourselves and potentially offset the cost of the subscription. The other feature we see listed here, the SIS integration, SIS standing for Student Information System. So the big ones we typically hear about: PowerSchool, Infinite Campus, Skyward. So an oversimplification of what this is it allows us to integrate with those platforms to eliminate the double entry of student information. Again, that's high level of what the integration is. We do have some help guides specific that break down in more detail the steps that are taken to set up the connection. So if anyone is interested in that or learning more, you can go to our help pages, type in SIS, and you'll see 2 different documents there in terms of the functionality available. Now, there's another benefit of the Pro package that's kind of tied to the ads-free website that we don't see listed here quite yet. And it's because it's a newer feature in Schedule Star, so we just haven't added it on this screen yet. So if I jump into Schedule Star, I'm just going to first remove Ryan from tennis and then jump back to my calendar view. A couple of months ago, we launched a really great social media integration tool within Schedule Star. And if you're not familiar with what I'm referring to, you now have the ability, depending on your package, to integrate your Facebook or Twitter with Schedule Star. So the easiest way to enable the integration is to go to Share Schedules. And then you'll see the options to toggle on Twitter and or Facebook. Now you'll see at my high school here, we do have it enabled for Twitter. So I have the option to send out automatically bi-weekly and daily schedule reminders. And then additionally, I have the option to send out cancellation postponements, event changes, and score changes. So as I make those adjustments within my system, I will have the option to send that to my social media. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this in terms of the pro level subscription is because with this functionality, if you are a pro level user, all of that capability within the social media will become ads free, similar to how you have the option to make the website ads free at Pro. So we're finding a lot of people are really falling in love with the Twitter and the Facebook integration in Schedule Star, because I know, at least personally, it saves me from having to do that extra step of, oh, we're updating a playoff game for tonight. Now I need to do it 3 other places. Well, at least I know Twitter and Facebook are covered. So any specific questions in terms of what's included with the Pro package or anything I mentioned briefly? Okay, let's talk about pricing. So I don't really hide from our pricing because if you put into perspective everything that's included with Pro, so obviously we know Schedule Star, that's built into the package with all of its functionality. So the iCal integration, the advanced reporting, you have the social media integration and all of its functionality. You're also going to have Fan Central, the ability to make it ads free or offset the cost of your subscription based on selling your own ads. And then everything we outlined in Student Central, where most companies with Student Central, they are charging per student. They might even charge a per form fee that I've heard at times. Well, with our packages, the price is the price. So the standard 1-year rate for the pro level subscription is $3,000 a year. Okay. So at that $3,000, again, Schedule Star, Fan Central ads free, and also everything that's included with Student Central. Now, what I'll tell you is a majority of our customers don't typically do a year by year with the pro level subscription. They lock into our 3-year tiered pricing. And that's actually a good transition into our 2022 conference promotion pricing. So there's actually a couple different promos we're doing this year with the pro upgrade. So the 3-year tiered, option 1, your year 1 total for your pro package is $1,800. Year 2 is $2,400, and it's not until year 3 you would pay the standard $3,000 rate. On top of that, we would give you a GoPro bundle valued at about $425. Okay, so that is package 1. You have the 3-year tiered pricing plus a GoPro bundle, valid until the end of April. Option 2, instead of the GoPro bundle, we'll just give you additional savings on the 3-year tiered pricing. So year 1 would only be $1,600, year 2, $2,200, year 3, $2,900. And again, offer valid till the end of April. So want to make sure everyone knows in terms of the pricing for Pro, we can send you specifics if you're interested, or maybe you want an individual one-on-one session to maybe see the forms in more detail, or you're in a different state, like, hey, that's cool, you have Pennsylvania, but I'm in Michigan. Do you have the Michigan forms? Absolutely. We have a ton of state forms already built into our system. So happy to meet with anyone individually that would be interested in learning more or a more enhanced look into some of the functionality that was just, again, quickly overviewed on today's session. So any specific questions with the pro level package? Okay, let me off easy today. Very good. Well, before we open it up for general Q&A here, I am going to kick it back over to Jason. We're going to do our final prize drawing of the day. So who do we got, Jason?
I've got a Jim Workman on the attendee list. The name we have on this call is just Jim, but I assume that's Mr. Workman. So that's who we got.
Very good.
I pulled JW.
All right.
That's who's getting it.
There we go. $15 Target gift card. So congratulations there. So perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just kick it over really to all of you. So are there any specific questions with anything in terms of the pro level subscription for me or even Jason or the team that's on the call? Man. Okay. Very good. Well, I mean, that's all we wanted to cover in today's session. We wanted to go through in detail everything that's included with the pro level subscription, talk about the pricing. In terms of upgrading, really, that can take place anytime you would like. So all you would have to do, you'll see we have the sales information down at the bottom here, phone number listed as well. So if anyone is thinking about making the jump over, maybe if it's even for next year, it's never too early to get into the queue. So just let us know how we can help. But I will hang tight for another couple of minutes, but in terms of our scheduled agenda, we've gotten through everything today. So I really appreciate all of you taking some time. Like I said, I know in Pennsylvania, we are full gear with now state playoffs and also the start of the spring season. So I'm sure it's crazy throughout the US as well. But thank you again for taking the time to learn a little bit more about our packages here. So if you need to get going, feel free. Other than that, I'll hang tight for another couple minutes. So thank you, everyone.